You think you're here right now? You think you're listening to this? You think you see the world the way it really is? I've got bad news. You don't see reality. You see an interpretation with a delay. What you call reality isn't a recording. It's a reconstruction. Your brain doesn't wait for the world to happen and then register it. It constantly guesses what's about to happen, and then it serves that guess to you as truth. That's why most of the time you're a mental time traveler. In the future, where you're already losing, or in the past, where you're still arguing. And the only place you're not is here. Let's run a quick experiment. No paper, no philosophy. Imagine your partner or your boss sends you a message. We need to talk. What happens in your body? Your pulse jumps, your palms sweat, your stomach tightens, and your mind rolls the film. Fired, dumped, humiliated, disaster. But stop. You didn't read the message. You activated an old fear map. That's the point. Your brain isn't a camera. It's a prediction machine. Its job isn't to show you the truth. Its job is to protect you. And protection often looks like paranoia, drama, and bad decisions. And the worst part, your ego whispers, "No, no, I'm just reacting to facts. I'm objective." You're not. You're reacting to a prediction that feels like a fact. Congratulations. You're living inside a simulation you created, and you're convinced it's reality. Today, we're breaking that code. Welcome to the male truth. Here's the first truth. You're living in a simulation. Whenever something is unclear, your autopilot does one thing. It tries to kill uncertainty as fast as possible. Uncertainty hurts. Your brain hates pain, so it chooses a fast conclusion over an accurate one. Here's a real example. You notice your partner feels colder than yesterday. Autopilot says, "It's over. They're hiding something. They don't love me." And then, like an idiot, you start behaving as if that guess is true. You get pushy, sarcastic, you test them, you provoke them, and guess what happens? They shut down even more. Then your ego says, "See, I knew it." No, you just created a self-fulfilling prophecy. Another example, you're driving, someone cuts you off. Autopilot says, "They did that to disrespect me," and you react like it's war. But maybe the guy's just careless. Maybe he didn't see you. Maybe he's having a bad day. Your brain doesn't search for the most accurate explanation. It searches for the explanation that closes the story the fastest. Most people never realize this. Your first conclusion is often just an anesthetic, not the truth. So here's the rule for mental adults. When your brain offers the first version of the story, you don't sign it immediately, not because you're positive, not because you're spiritual, but because you understand how autopilot works. Here's how to do it. Brutally simple. 3 sentences. Always. First, this is only my first assumption. Second, what's another explanation that could also be true? Third, what fact am I actually missing? That's the hack, not magic. Because the moment you introduce a second explanation, you break the simulation. You stop living inside one story. Now, the most important part of this block, the problem isn't that your brain makes assumptions. The problem is that you treat the first assumption like law. That's how an average life gets built. Fast conclusions, fast reactions, bad decisions, and then rationalization. So let's go deeper. Why does your brain act like there are only 2 options? Here's the second truth. You're trapped in a box, built out of one word only. Most people spend their lives hitting a wall that isn't even real. There's a phenomenon that controls your relationships, money, career, everything. I call it the phantom rule, a rule you obey that was never written anywhere. Here's what it looks like. You have a problem. Your brain offers solution A and solution B. If A fails, you try B. If B fails, you quit and say, it's impossible. Impossible? No. You just banned every other path. That's the box. The box is in the world. The box is your map of the world. And here comes a word that turns your life into a cage. Only. I can do it only if I'm in a relationship. I'll be happy only if they stay. I can succeed only if I have connections, money, perfect conditions. I can feel calm only when I control everything. That only is prison bars. Not a fact. Genius isn't being smarter. Genius is noticing you created rules of the game that you don't have to follow. So let me ask you, without sugarcoating, what rule are you obeying right now that was never written anywhere? Why does it have to happen in that exact order? Why does it have to happen that way? Why does it have to be approved by someone else for you to feel calm? A lot of have to is just fear wearing a logic costume. Now here's the brutal truth about the first solution. Your first solution is almost always based on what you already know. That's why it's often weak. The second, third, fifth solution, that's where innovation lives. That's where freedom lives. That's where the X factor you admire in other people lives. So when you find the first solution, you don't celebrate. You're just getting started. If you want a better relationship, your first idea is usually, I'll explain. I'll prove myself. I'll convince them. That's ego. That's control. That's fear. The third idea is often, I'll set a boundary. I'll change the pattern. I'll stop competing for love. That's where life changes. Now a mini exercise. Don't skip it. If you skip it, you don't want change. You want content. Write one sentence that's blocking you right now. Just one. For example, I can only if, or I'll be okay only when. Now delete the word only and come up with 3 alternatives. 3, not 1. 3 alternatives force you out of the box. If you can't come up with 3 alternatives, you're not stupid. You're trapped inside rules you never notice. That's the second point of the hack. Spot the phantom rules and then break the walls. Here's the third truth. Your life changes only through repetition. This is where the ego starts sulking. The word talent is the favorite excuse of lazy people. It's easy for him, he's talented. That's a bedtime story you tell yourself to buy comfort. The best at anything aren't magical. They're boring, obsessively, brutally boring. They repeat the same thing 1,000 times. Not because they're inspired, but because they understand the law. Autopilot changes only through repetition, not through understanding, not through watching, not through reading, through repetition. If you're jealous, if you obsess over messages, if you run movies in your head, you don't need another wise quote. You need training, a new reaction. If you keep procrastinating, changing goals, starting and stopping, you don't need motivation. You need a system. So here's the daily minimum that's simple enough to work and brutal enough to change a man. Every day, take 5 small steps toward a new identity. Not 50, not a spectacle. 5. 5 things that take 20 to 30 minutes total, but every day with no negotiation. Here's an example for the mind. 1. One moment where you caught your autopilot. 2. You write a second version of the story. 3. One small action opposite to the old pattern. 4. One boundary. 1 no you used to swallow. 5. One repetition of a skill conversation, focus, training, work. Sounds boring. Good. That's why it works. Your life doesn't collapse from huge tragedies every day. It collapses from small, stupid, automatic habits. And it gets built the same way, through small, boring, correct repetition. Do this for 6 months and you'll be unrecognizable. Not because of magic, but because autopilot will finally learn a new program. Now, one last punch. Quick. If you always have to do everything alone, it's not because everyone around you is incompetent. It's because you built a system where no one but you can function. If you can't transfer your knowledge, raise the standard around you, build a team, then you're not strong. You're just a control freak with a better vocabulary. Power isn't when you burn. Power is when you light others. So here's the summary. No sugarcoating. Your perception isn't truth, it's prediction. Don't sign the first version. Your limitations aren't real. They're phantom rules. Delete only. The first solution is a trap. Look for the third path. And the only way to change autopilot is repetition. Every day, no negotiation. These aren't motivational lines. They're survival tools in a world that wants you average, predictable, and easy to sell to. If you're ready to uninstall the old programs in your mind and install something that actually works, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, because the algorithm might not want you to see the next video. See you in reality.